All right, it's now recording. All right, so you are KL. Content. I'm just going to pull this up this way. First, 10.3. So I have it under 10.3. I've got the test to review. So we're gonna take a look at that and just kind of go through what you can expect on this test. I think I'll just download it. That would be the easier thing to do. Since this is kind of weird.
You can make it full screen right there.
Let's make it full screen. Oh, where do you see
Right.
full screen? Oh, up here?
Down.
No.
Down.
Down.
To your left.
There, it's a little, is
Oh,
it
I see.
before?
There we go. Oh, okay, yeah, we can. Okay. All right, so, and I can zoom in too. All right, so I'm probably gonna put a factoring problem on there just because factors super important. So yeah,
Actually, can you teach us factoring if we have a degree of 3? Like,
there's some, yeah, there's just a little bit you can do with that, not a lot. Here, I'll tell you what, since you talked about it. If you have a 3rd degree, all right, he just asked me a question. This wouldn't be on my test, but
it was on
it was
13.4.
on his. All right, was it 2 terms or did it have like an x cubed, an x squared, and x in it?
Is it from 10.4?
Did it have something? I'll ask you the question. Does it look like this? Let me get my pencil up. Did it look something like this, x cubed minus 8?
No, it was more like x3, x to the power of 3, x to 2, and then x and then different number.
There was a number?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, he's expecting a lot.
Apparently.
Okay, let's kind of talk about that. When you have cube, it's okay, so you probably have 4 terms. So you're probably gonna do what's called grouping. I'm gonna show you how to do grouping. Actually, I think I'll show it to you with a box, because I think you guys will get a box better, okay? So I'm gonna make one up, that'll factor. All right, so there's something like this on your test. All right, so when you have 4 terms, I would suggest doing a box, all right? First, you take out any common factors. No common factors? Okay, so the easiest way I think to do this is just to make a box, a 2x2 box. Put 1 term in every square. All right, so I'll do x cubed, 4x squared, minus 2x, minus 8. Okay, see I put 1 term in every box? Okay, you're going to take common factors out of the rows and out of the columns, and that's going to be how you factor it. So if you look at this first row, you have x cubed and 4x squared. What's the common factor?
X squared.
X squared, so that comes out here. Okay, now the second row, negative 2x and negative 8. What's the common factor?
Negative.
Good, negative 2. If the first one is negative, take out a negative. All right, so negative 2. Now we did the rows, now we're going to do the columns. So the columns go this way, right? So of x cubed and negative 2x, what's the common factor? X, that goes up here. And 4x squared and negative 8, what's the common factor? 4. You can check that you did it right, because when you multiply the row and the column, you should get what's in there. So x squared times x is x cubed. See how I just look at that? X squared times 4 is 4x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. 4 times it's negative 8, right? So the things that I have on the sides are the factors. So this factor is x squared minus 2 times x plus 4.
Oh, because there was a question on the math lab where it had us factor to find the zeros for the
For something set
yeah,
equal
for
0.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
So these would be the zeros.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, the zeros you just set equal to 0, right? So to find the zeros, either x plus 4 equals 0 or x squared minus 2 equals 0. So this would be x is negative 4, right? And if x squared equals 2, just take the square root. So x is plus or minus root 2, so you get 2 roots out of that. That's it. Okay. All right, again, you won't see that on mine. I guess you saw it on his. All right. Do you want me to do another example of that? Anybody want me to do another example? No?
I'm good.
Okay, everybody good? All right. All right, so obviously you wouldn't see that on mine, you see it on his. All right, so you should be able to factor. Do I need to go through number 1 with you? Any yeses? see no yeses, so I'm assuming factoring is good. All right, number 2, you factor and you solve. You're not gonna see any quadratic equations on there. I hate quadratic and it's not on your final and it's just a waste of time, okay? So anything that you have to solve, you'll be able to factor on my test, all right? So do I need to do number 2? You guys tell me. If I don't see any thumbs up or yeses or nothing, okay, I got a thumb. What thumbs up means yes?
Yeah, can you just do one?
Yeah, okay, let's do it. All right, I'm gonna erase this real quick. I gotta get rid of all this. All right, so solving something that equals 0, if it's not just regular old x, it's got an x squared, we got to factor. Right? So what we're gonna do, so I need factors of -16 that add to -6. So you guys tell me what they are.
8 and -2.
Close. Somebody said 8 and -2. What's wrong with that?
-8 and negative.
There we go. -8, +2 is going to give me the -6. All right. So this thing, because the leading term is just x squared, it's x minus 8, right? X plus 2. Yeah. And then just set each factor to 0. So if x minus 8 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. So you're going to move the 8 over, it becomes positive. Move the 2 over, it becomes negative, right? Is that all right? Should be able to do that. Okay. I think I gave you guys a couple of simplifying rational expressions. Those are the ones where we just factor and cancel, right? That's all we're doing. So I'll do A or B. What would you like me to do?
B.
B. Yeah, you know what? I see a typo. This A should be x squared minus 25. Please change that. Otherwise it won't factor. All right, that's a typo. All right, so let's do B. The top, there's nothing I can do with that. I have to factor the bottom. So I need factors of 2 that add to -3. So what are they?
-1.
Good, -2 and -1. So with this type of factoring, remember you're going to copy the 2. So I'm going to copy the 2 to the front. I'm just going to do it over here. And then write down the factors, -2, -1, right? And kill a common factor. So you can take a 2 out of here. Can't take anything out. So this factor's x minus 1, 2x minus 1, right? So if I look at that, the x minus 1's cancel, right? So my end result is 1 over 2x minus 1. Is that right? Factor and cancel. That's all this is about. So it's really an exercise in factoring more than anything else. All right, any questions? To go with that. So that's one thing you can expect. This is not going down. Oh, here we go. No. That's in that. Sorry, I've got something I'm not expecting. Why is it not? Why is it not?
Press that little arrow next to the 2.
The arrow next to the 2.
Yeah, it's not.
Doesn't do anything. What the heck? Let me go. What is going on here?
Refresh.
Where's the refresh?
You gotta scroll the way up.
Huh?
You gotta scroll up.
Yeah.
Wait, what is it?
What the heck?
Press escape.
That X up at the top right, not the blue one, but
Huh? Oh, well, now we're doing
Oh, yeah,
something.
there you go.
There we go. All right, so I just did 1, 2, 3. All right. 4. There we go. All right, vertical asymptote. Do you remember how to find a vertical asymptote? It's where the bottom is 0, right? So all you do is set the bottom to 0. So, no, it's not letting me write. Here's my pen. Come on. Where's my pen? Sorry. Fun stuff. Where's my pen? Let's do, I can do it this way. I'll just do it through Zoom. All right, so for number 4, vertical asymptote, just set the bottom to 0, right? Move the 4 over, it's x equals 4. For a vertical asymptote, it's x equals whatever, right? It's not just a number, it's x equals. All right, now a rational equation, we can solve these algebraically or with the calculator. It's not going to matter, right? So I figure I'll do one of each. All right, so we'll do, let's do the calculator. Let's do it with something that looks hard. Let's do the calculator C. The C looks hard. So what you're going to do with the calculator, you're going to solve it with the calculator. Plug this in y1, plug this in y2, and find the intersections, right? So let me get my calculator up. Let's just close that for now. TI tools smart view. Okay, come on. Being really slow today. There it goes. All right. I'm going to close that. I'm going to move this. All right. So in Y1, I'm going to type that first expression. I need a little bit more space. I'm going to stretch that down. There we go. You guys can see the calculator? Yes? All right, so it's alpha y equals, if you have an 83, please put the top and the bottom in parentheses, all right? So I'm gonna go to y equals, so, hold on, I gotta get rid of this writing, it's bugging me. Clear this here. All right, that looks better. All right, calculator. So y equals, N over D. I want N over D. What the heck? There we go. No, I don't want it there. I want to go y equals first, right? Y equals, clear whatever's in there. All right, x over x plus 2. So I'm going to do alpha F1 N over D. X over, the hard part's typing it in. I would make sure, double check, make sure you have what you think you have in there. Plus, I'm going to do another fraction. I get 2 over x plus 2, x plus 3. Oops. X plus 3. All right, so that would be the left-hand side equals 5 over x plus 3. So alpha y equals 5 over x plus 3. All right, so then once I have it in, I'm just going to hit graph. I'm going to, I'm way out. So I'm going to zoom 6 to put me in a regular window. Zoom 6, hopefully that's good enough. All right, so I see an intersection here. There might be one down here as well. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to make my X window just a little bigger. So I'm going to change it. Oh no, I gotta make y bigger, right? So y min. Let's go to -20. See what that looks like, just to see. It doesn't really look like they intersect there, right? Not sure. I see one there for sure, right? Let me go a little smaller. Let's go to -50. I'm just trying to figure out where those guys are crossing or not. They really don't look like they're crossing, right? Okay, so it looks like it's just going to be here. So we do second, trace,
Wouldn't that be a
intersect.
vertical asymptote?
Huh?
Wouldn't that be a vertical asymptote?
That's a vertical asymptote. Yeah, I want to make sure that
Shows it crosses.
okay. You're right. Okay, intersect. And then we press enter 3 times. And I get x equals 4. So that's the solution to that. All right. There may be more than one to those. You're going to have to check, make sure there's not multiple intersections. Okay, but the calculator, it's a pretty easy way to go. All right, so I get x equals 4. All right. Oops. Let's see. All right, so here I use the calculator, I got x equals 4. All right. So second trace 5 is what it's about. Now I'm going to do one algebraically just to kind of say I did one algebraically. So I'm going to use B. I'm going to do B algebraically. Over x minus 2 plus 1 fifth. Okay. I think I got room over here. All right. 2 over x minus 2 plus 1 fifth equals 2 over x minus 2. So remember, with rational equations, if you're going to solve it algebraically, you multiply by the common denominator, which is what? What's the common denominator?
X minus 2.
X minus 2 is part of it. What's the other part? 5. Okay, so you're going to multiply everything by the commonality of the bottom, right? So it's, I'm going to do that in different color. I'm going to multiply everything by 5 times x minus 2. All right, so we cancel this, and I get 10 here. Cancel.
Wouldn't that be an x, not
Huh?
a 2? On the first part of it, it was x over x minus 2.
Oh, it's not 2. Yeah, okay, it's an x, right? Sorry, that's a typo. So this is 5x, right? Let me fix this stuff. No. All right, this should have been an x. All right, there we go. Now we're going to cancel stuff. All right, so I have 5x plus the 5's cancel, so I get x minus 2, right? Equals, these cancel, 2 times 5 is 10, right? Now I got something I can solve. Okay, so 5x plus x is 6x minus 2 equals 10. Just combine these. Move the 2 over, so 6x, I'm going to add 2 equals 12. Now, this is an interesting problem. I get x equals 2, right? So be careful of that. Can that be a solution? Remember, you have to go back and check, is x equal 2 a possibility? So, because if you plug x equal 2 back into it, what happens? You get 2 over 2 minus 2. What's that equal? It's undefined, right? You can't divide by 0. So 2 is not an answer. It's extraneous, right? So this is extraneous. And so we get no solution, right? Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we're going to go graph it to verify that there is no solution. All right. If there's no solution, I should see no place where the two graphs cross. All right. So we're going to go graph it just to make sure. Pull Mr. Calculator up. All right. Where did you go? I'm going to go to y equals. Let's see. So the one side is x over x minus 2 plus 1 fifth. X over x minus 2 plus 1 fifth. I'm just going to type it like that. And the other side is 2 over x minus 2. I'll do, if I have 83, I type it this way, 2 over x minus 2, right, in parentheses. All right, if you have an 83, you got to put the top and bottom in parentheses. All right, so graph it. Okay, and I don't know if you can see, I'm going to zoom in. I'll zoom 6 it. Let's do that first. Can you see that they don't really cross? I'm not really sure about right here, so I'm going to try it and see if they cross. So I'm going to hit second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. No sign change. What that means is they don't cross, okay? So I'm right. There's no solution. There's no place where these graphs cross. All right, let's talk about domain. Number 6, do you remember what we said about domain?
All the
Huh?
real numbers.
All real numbers for quadratics, right? There's 2 issues right now you have to worry about: square roots and fractions, right? What's under the square root has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? And with a fraction, the bottom can't be 0, okay? So when it doesn't have a square root or a fraction, the domain of something like this, a quadratic, is what? You guys tell me.
negative infinity.
negative infinity to infinity, right? It's all real numbers, okay? And we'll talk about logs next week, or no, Thursday. Not next week. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my annotate back up. All right, so if you have, so this is all reals. If you have a square root function, you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So whatever you say, whatever is in there, 2x minus 3 has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? That's what you do. All right, solve for x. Remember with an inequality, when do you flip the inequality? Under what condition? Anybody remember? You got to notice when you flip the inequality.
When the signs change. Or no?
When you divide
You divide by what?
x,
A negative, right? Whenever you divide by a negative, the signs flip, right? So don't forget that. We're not dividing by a negative, but I want you to know that. You might see it on your test. Is that a strong hint? It's supposed to be, okay. All right, so we're gonna move the 3 over. I'm dividing by a positive 2, so I just leave it like that, right? So I get x is greater than or equal to 3/2. Now, they're going to want the domain in interval notation, so we're going to write this in interval notation, right? So if you want, you can draw yourself a number line. I'll do it up here. So 3/2 is here. I can equal 3/2 and I go up, right? I go up to infinity. So with bracket notation, interval notation, I go from 3/2 to infinity. What kind of bracket goes on the 3/2? Square around.
Square.
Square because it can equal it, right? What about infinity?
Round.
Round, there's your domain. Okay. Okay, this is probably the harder type problem when you have, it's still because even though I have a quadratic, it has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? So I'm going to show you how to do this with a sign test, but I'm also going to show you how to use the calculator to help yourself, okay? So whatever's in here has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? So I have to figure out where that quadratic is positive and where it's negative. All right, there's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to do it all without the calculator, then I'm going to show you the calculator. Okay. All right, so without a calculator, we're going to factor it. How does this thing factor?
3 over negative.
Factors of 3 that add to -4 would be what?
-3, -1.
Good, -3 and -1. So this factor is x minus 1 and x minus 3, right? So it equals 0 at 1 and 3. So those are the places where it equals 0. So what I'm going to do is set up what's called a little sign test. So I know it's at 1 and 3 it equals 0. So all I got to do is figure what happens is a positive or negative in between there. So pick a number less than 1 and plug it in. So if I let x equal 0, I get 0 minus 1 times 0 minus 3. So I'm going to get positive 3. Right? So it's 0, it's anything, it's 0, it's positive. So anything less than 1 is positive. All right? Then you pick a number between 1 and 3. 2 is a really good choice, right? Plug it into the expression. 2 minus 1 times 2 minus 3. If you work that out, that's 1 times, it's going to be -1. So it's a negative when x is 2. Is that all right? And pick a number bigger than 3. Whatever you'd like. Oops. So I'll let x be 4. So if x is 4, I'm going to have out of room. So x equals 4. It's going to be 4 minus 1, which is 3 times 4 minus 3, which is 1. All right, it's going to be positive, right? So it's going to be positive. All right. So looking at, this is like a number line. Looking at your number line, I want to pick where it's positive, not where it's negative, right? So I'm going to have 2 intervals where it's positive, all right? So negative infinity, infinity. So I have 1 interval here, which is negative infinity to 1. Right like that, and I have another interval from 3 to infinity. Right? Now, I did the algebra, but don't be afraid to use the calculator. I'm going to show you the calculator here. I'm going to show you a couple things with the calculator. Okay? I'm doing something, I don't know, we'll see. All right. So with the calculator, you do have a couple of options with these inequalities. I can graph it and take a look at it, right? So I'm just going to graph the whole thing. So let me move this over out of the way. I don't want to clear it yet. Well, I might clear part of it. All right. Let me do this. Get rid of the writing. Okay, well, you guys got that down. Can I get rid of all this? Yeah. Okay. All right, so let me get my calculator up. So y equals, I'm going to go in, I'm going to type the function. X squared minus 4x plus 3. All right, so I'm going to do the square root. X squared minus 4x plus 3. X squared minus 4x plus 3. I'm going to graph it. All right, so looking at the graph, you can kind of see that, you know, X is good except between 1 and 3. So I know I go from 1 down and from 3 up, right? There's my domain. I can see it on the graph. It's easy enough to do, okay? Another thing you can do, just with a calculator, I kind of like playing around with this a little bit, just so you can see it. I know that what's under the square root has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? I know that. So what I can do is I can go into y equals and I can type this function, x squared minus, there's a couple things I can do. Let me just look at the inside. So if you look at the inside, oh, look, the quadratic's negative between 1 and 3, so I gotta leave that out. Okay. The other thing I can do, I kind of like playing with this, all right, is I can actually type an inequality. I can hit second test, second math, and I'm going to type in greater than or equal to 0. Oops, not equal. Second test, greater than or equals 4. Now, let me tell you a little bit what this test thing does. It returns a 1 where it's greater than 0. It'll return a 0 where it's not. So what you should see is a line of 1 where the solutions are. So if I look at the graph, oh, look at that. It's 1 from 1 down and from 3 up. So there's my answer. All right, so it kind of draws a number line for you. Okay, so there's another option. Okay.
How did you get the inequality again?
Okay, so I typed the equation, right? And the inequalities can be found at second, oops, let me get out of there. Oops, sorry. If you go to second math, and then you see they're all right there, and you can just go pick one. Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right, now we have, let's do one more domain one. So remember, the other option is when you have like D, you have a rational function. Remember that the bottom can't be 0, right? So you set the bottom to 0. So if x plus 3 equals 0, I get x equals -3. So x can't be -3. That's the domain, right? They're not going to give you the domain written like that. They're going to give it to you in interval notation. So remember, with the number line, here's -3. Everything else is good, right? We got this guy and this guy. So we have 2 intervals. So we go from -infinity to -3, and from -3 to infinity. Notice with those rational functions, there's no square brackets. They're all round.
For rational, you said?
Yeah, right. For rational, for the domain, right? But it can't be the thing on the bottom, so you're always going to exclude things.
if it gives you like x plus 3 and then x minus 2, for example, then you would just do both of those points. It will be like x is negative infinity to negative 3, union negative 3 to or to positive 2, and then union 2 to, yeah. Okay.
All right, he asked about two, you know, two exclusions, you're gonna have 3 regions, right? Okay, just exclude them. All right, so is that okay with domain? So domain for you guys, square roots and fractions, right, or problems, okay? Now, number 7 is simple interest. I did give you a simple interest problem on your test. So you have to know the formula. You remember what it is?
Y equals PRT.
PRT, right? And you're not going to use the solver for that. You're just going to plug the stuff in the formula, right? So remember the formula for simple interest is I equals PRT. So let's figure it out. So 5,000, what's that equal? I PRT. That's your principal. Interest, well, that was 2%. That's your I, right? So that's 0.02, right? When you work it with math, you write it as a decimal. And I want to know the, oh, sorry, that's not the interest. What is that? That's the rate? Okay. And 5 years is the time, right? So you just multiply 5,000 times 0.02 times 5. Tell me what you get.
500.
Huh?
500.
100?
500.
Oh, 500. Okay, so he gets $500 in interest. Wow. That's more than expected. Okay.
If it gives you months, do you divide it by 12? Like, let's say if it was 5 months instead of 5 years.
So you divide by 12, right? If they give you like the time in months, like he was asking if it's 5 months, then I write the time as 5 over 12, right? Okay, you always have to give the time in years. Okay. All right. All right. So that's that. Actually. All right, let me move up a little bit. All right. So the other things you can expect, function notation, pretty straightforward. Just plug it in, right? So they give you f of x, find f of 6. So that means I'm plugging 6 in for x, right? I'll do -1. With a negative, make sure you put parentheses around the negatives if you're going to plug in your calculator straight. So you would do, let's do f of -1. All right, f of -1 would be -1 squared minus 6 times -1 plus 5, right? You can either plug in your calculator or work it out, right? I'm going to get 1 plus 6 plus 5. It's going to work out to be 12, okay? So really simple, the function notations, you're just plugging that value for x and getting what you get, right? Be careful of something like this. Where does f of x equal 6? This is not x anymore. This is y. When it's on the outside, it's y. When it's on the inside, it's x. All right?
So would you put 6 equals 2x minus 6?
Yeah. And then you solve it, right? So you're going to move your 3 over and divide by 2. Okay, so x will be 9/2. Okay, now more inequalities. We kind of just basically did this. You know, a linear one is super easy. A linear one that doesn't have x squared in it, right, is easy. So let's do b because that's what we were talking about earlier. If I look at b, I can straight solve this. I get -x. Whoops, I guess I better actually write. I'm going to -1. -x is less than 6. Now, to solve for x, I have to divide by -1. That means that's that deal, right? I got to flip the inequality. I'm going to divide by -1, but I'm going to flip it. All right, x is greater than -6. Now, you want to give this in bracket in interval notation because that's how it's going to be on the test and the final. So, let's do a number line, I guess. Here's -6. Going up to infinity, right? So my interval notation would be from -6 to infinity. round bracket because it doesn't have equal on it. Okay, now for these quadratic inequalities, if you like, I'll do C. You know, we just showed you how to type in the calculator, right? So let's just type in the calculator, all right? Because that's the easiest way to do it. So x squared plus 6x plus 5 is greater than 0. So I'll just type it in, x squared plus 6x plus 5. I'll just do the number line. It's greater than 0. So I'm going to hit that second math. Greater than is 3. So there's my number line. I can see this is where it's 1 is solution. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts at negative 5. Oops. Where'd my calculator go? Starts at negative 5 and goes down. It starts at negative 1 and goes up. Okay. So let me draw that on number line. No. All right, so I knew it started at negative 5 and went down and started at what? Oh, I forgot. Was it 1 or negative 1? Negative 1 and went up. Now I'm going to put open circles because there's no equals here, right? All right. So then I just go ahead and draw and do the intervals. So from negative infinity to negative 5, union negative 1 to infinity, right? That's the quickest way to do them without a sign test, all right? Okay, is that all right so far? Everybody good? All right.
Wait, so which are the ones where you'd have to do like negative infinity, negative 5, and then union, negative
Okay.
5, negative 1?
So
Oh, that's for dummy.
when I looked at this graph, here, let me pull my calculator up. When I looked at the graph, you see that it's where it's 1 is when I have 2 regions, right? I've got one here and one up there.
Mhm.
So that tells me I have 2 answers, right? 2 intervals. So that's from negative infinity to negative 5 and from negative 1 to infinity, right? Now, if I flip this around just to show you what that looks like. So let's say I want to know where it was less than 0. So I'm going to flip this to a less than. All right, you see it's 1 between negative 5 and negative 1, so that only has 1 region. Okay? So you see, you can see 2 versus 1. Okay? All right, so all right, now the other thing we talked about, parabolas, all right? You need to be able to find the vertex. Tell me whether it's a minimum or maximum, which way it opens. Okay, so you remember the formula for the vertex?
H equals negative b over 2a.
Yeah, x equals negative b over 2a, right? You can do it that way or you can use the calculator. So we'll do it by hand first. Okay, so this is A, B, C. So the vertex happens at negative b over 2a. So I get negative 6 over 2 times negative 1, right? So I end up with negative 6 over negative 2. I'm going to end up with 3. So that's the x coordinate of the vertex. How do I get the y coordinate?
You plug it in.
Plug it back in. So y would be negative 3 squared plus 6 times 3 minus 8. I could use a calculator for this if you wanted to. What do I get? 9. I'm going to get 1. Okay. So the vertex is 3, 1, right? So without a calculator, does it open up or down? Opens up. Anybody disagree? I do.
Oh, wait.
The leading term is negative, right? It's a sad person. So this negative leading term, it opens down, positive leading term, it opens up, right? Look, but you can always graph it, right, on a calculator. And to find the x-intercepts are where it equals 0, right? So to find x-intercept, you would set this thing equal to 0, which pretty much means I'm going to factor it, right? So if I factor it, divide by negative, because I don't like a negative, I'm going to change the signs. Okay, so we're going to factor this. This looks really familiar. Factors of 8 that add to -6. No, maybe not. Factors of +8 that add to -6. Or what?
-4, -2.
-4 and -2, right? So this will factor x minus 4, x minus 2. So if I solve for this, I get x equals 4 and x equals 2. So those are your x-intercepts, right? And the y-intercept, you guys tell me what's the y-intercept of that thingy? How do you find a y-intercept? Okay, so for x-intercepts, you set y equal to 0. For y-intercepts, you set x equal to 0. All right, so if you put x equals 0 in there, what do you get out? You set x equal to 0, what do you get?
Oh, so it'll be 0? No, it'll be -8.
-8, right? That's what, everything goes away except the number, right? When you set x to 0. So -8, the c is the y-intercept, right? ax squared plus bx plus c, c is the y-intercept. The y-intercept, if x equals 0, I get y equals -8. Note it's always c, right? That's your y-intercept. Okay. Now, I can also just graph this. I'm going to walk through that with you real quick just to go through the graphing end of it. So my other option is to graph this puppy. All right. -x squared plus 6x minus 8. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go down here. Y equals, clear this out. Actually, put it up here. -x squared plus 6x. All right. So looking from the graph, I can see that it opens down, right? You can see your x-intercepts are 2 and 4 like we got. The y-intercept is -8. You can see all that. Couple reminders. You can find the vertex by doing second trace. All right, is it a minimum or a maximum? I'll look at. It's maximum. So I'm going to hit second count maximum. 4. And it comes back, it says left bound. So that means you move the cursor so it's somewhere to the left side, which it already is. Press enter. Come back, it says right bound. You're going to move the cursor to the right-hand side of the vertex. Press enter. And there's your maximum, 3, 1, just like what we got algebraically. Okay. If you want to find the the x-intercepts, go to y equals. You want to do it on a calculator because they're not nice, type this as 0. And find the intersection of the two curves. I guess I should move this so you can see it. There we go, up here. So the blue and the red line are the intersections. So I can do second trace intersect. Enter, enter, enter. So I found 1 and 2, and you go to the other one, right? So you do same thing, second trace intersect. Move the cursor so it's closer to the other root. Press enter 3 times. And there's the other guy's 4, okay? So the calculator will find these for you, right? The y-intercept, I could always go to the table as well, right? When the x is 0, y is -8, right? You can see there's a 2, 0 and 4, 0, right? There's your y-intercepts. Okay. All right, or x-intercept, sorry. Okay. So there's lots of options. Don't be afraid to use the graphing calculator. I would encourage you to. All right, so let's talk about How do I clear this thing? I'm gonna take two. All right, so quadratics. Now, solutions to find the points of intersection is using, you can do it by hand, but the best bet's probably for you guys to use the calculator. You want to solve them for y, so if I take this one, let me solve it for y. Like if I solve this guy for y, I'm gonna, let's see, 2x plus 3y equals 6. I'm gonna subtract 2x. So I get 3y is 6, negative 2x plus 6. Divide by 3, right? Okay. And this guy, and this guy's already solved for y. So when you solve for y, you can graph them and find the intersection, right? On the calculator. So on the calculator, here I'm going to type them both into y equals. Clear out what I got. Negative 2/3 x plus 6 over 3. You can just leave it like that if you want, or you can make it a 2. The other one is 4x minus 1. Remember, zoom 6. I'm going to zoom 6 to put it in a regular window. I can see the intersection. All right, I go find it. So to find the intersection, second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. All right, and that's my solution, whatever that is. Okay, they're decimals, but that's okay. All right, so I get 0.643 and 1.571. I mean, that's fine. Is that all right? All right, and just because, like, when they say find the intersections like this here, these are both y's, right? Come on, move. This is y and this is y, right? So just plug them in, y1, y2, find the intersection, same thing, all right? Y1, y2. All right, and if they want you to find the solutions of an equation, all right, you can move everything over and set it to equal 0 and factor it, or you can just go ahead and plug it in the graphing calculator, all right? So I'm just gonna plug this one in the graphing calculator. So I do that, go in there and I type. Figure this stuff out. X minus 1 in one of them. And 2x squared minus 7 in the other. And you graph. All right, you see there's two intersections. So if I'm solving an equation, the only difference is I'm not interested in y, I'm just interested in x, right? That's all I'm solving for, not y. So we're going to go find it. Second calc intersect. It'll find one of them. All right, found that one. So it said x is negative 1.5. So I just plug this in. Y1, y2, so I got x is negative 1.5. And I also have another one to find. There's two intersections. I do the same thing. Second trace 5. Move it up to this guy. Press enter 3 times. And we get 2. All right. So my other solution is 2. Okay. My other option would be to move everything over, set equal to 0 and factor. All right. So just since I have some time, we'll go ahead and show you that one. So I have, if I work it algebraically, it's not that bad. 2x squared. I'm going to minus the x, so it's minus x. Minus 7. I'm going to move the 1 over, so it becomes a plus 1. So if you move everything to one side, Okay, I can't take out common factor, but I can factor this. So factors of -12 that add to -1 or what? I need those. What would they be?
-4, 3.
-4 and 3. I'm gonna do kill a common factor, so you're gonna copy the 2, right? Write the -4, write the +3. Kill the common factor, so divide a 2 out of the first guy. That's x minus 2. The second one I can't do anything with. So if x minus 2 equals 0, I get x equals 2. If 2x plus 3 equals 0, I get 2x is -3. So x is -3/2, which is what I got, right? On the calculator, okay? So, you know, from the purposes of my test, because this is multiple choice fill in the blank, don't be afraid to use that calculator, right? The calculator can be your best friend on these tests, all right? And at least, and if you want to do it algebraic, that's fine. Use calculator, check work, okay? So don't be afraid of that stuff. All right, so I think is that it? Let's see. Yeah, that's it, okay? So you guys can, I'll put the answers to the review up there tomorrow. And so you can check your answers with the review, right? The test is just like the review, all right? Some are fill in the blank, some are multiple choice. Okay, last test, you get 2 chances this time because of the fill in the blanks. Okay, and then we'll talk Thursday about logs in the review.
So we don't need to worry about 10.4 or 10.5.
We are going to do 10 point, yes. Okay, we are going to do 10.4 on Thursday. That's logs, okay?
No, it's not locked. It's like, it's E to the X.
Which is logs.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, okay, so it fits with it. So we're gonna do 10.4, because I do want to talk about logs. You're gonna see logs in 1325 and you need to see them. And then 10.5 is, what do you call it? What they call the difference quotients, which we'll be using in 1325 for a short period of time. But they're not easy algebraically. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a video up there of 10.4 and 10.5. Tomorrow I'm gonna see Thursday I'm gonna see what I can cover, but I also want to talk about the final. So, so I'm gonna see what I can do, but if it's not up there, there'll be videos on how to do that stuff, okay? So you can do the last 2 homeworks, they're already assigned, do Sunday at midnight, okay? So you got 10.4 and 10.5, we'll do Sunday at midnight, I'll put some videos up there. I'm gonna put a practice final up there this weekend for your final, right? Don't forget your finals the 13th, all right? Test is Friday, okay? All right, and that's that. All right, have a good week, guys.
Thank you.
Good days.
Yeah.
See ya.